Thanks for joining us. I'm Paul. I'm one of the co-founders here at Orah. The premise for today is to go through what we've built to help schools that use Blackbaud, but also that use other SISs, your FACS, your Veracross. We've got other ones as well. And to get started here, I've got a slideshow where I'll kind of run through some of the key points, and then I'll switch into the product to show you exactly what I'm talking about, to clarify things as well. For those of you that aren't aware, we started about 10 years ago now. Their initial need still is to know where their students are. There was a lot of workflows and additions we made to achieve that for schools, specifically around attendance, which I'll get into. But now we've added close to 100 day schools in the last 12 months alone. And the main reason is that schools need to account for students while they're in their care. And accounting for students requires accurate and real-time attendance records. There are other safety platforms on the market. Some have been around a while, some have been around more recently. And the biggest difference between us and those platforms is that we help you understand where your students are throughout the school day, inside and outside the classroom. For a lot of the other platforms, there might be some form of check-in functionality. Sometimes there's an emergency product as well. And then during that school day, during those class lessons, most of our schools are flipping back to their SIS, like Blackbaud, which is a great system used by many of our schools. But we've built kind of the next level of making sure you know where your students are during the class day. So the first section here is we try to make sure we tighten up all the main workflows you run through on a daily basis so that you know where they are. So I'll cover just quickly class attendance, late arrivals, early dismissals. We also have, which I won't be able to show you today because it's not released quite yet, is dismissals at the end of the day for lower students, so lower school students. Outside the classroom attendance or taking the checking for students, say from your mobile phone. And then we also have student leave and absences as well. So what you're looking at here is, looks like someone might be in a demo at the same time, the view of where your students are, of all your students. We've got, if we quickly want to figure out where they are, we've got our locations set up, which we can pull directly from Blackbaud, and you'll be able to tell exactly where students were last accounted for. The first way, or the most probably common way that students are being checked in is through attendance. And so what we've got here on the right-hand side is how your teachers would interact with Orah. So this is pulling the schedules in from Blackbaud. And then on the left-hand side here, you can have whatever you want open. So I could have, let's say Google Classroom. I could have Google Classroom open. Or I can have Blackbaud's LMS open, whatever you want on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side here, you've always got access through this Chrome browser or Safari or Microsoft Edge, the ability to take the role. So I can click on that class. Now, these statuses are all customizable to suit your school. Someone's added in a whole bunch of custom ones by the looks of it. But normally you won't see all these. You would just have a few options that your teachers can select from, and then they can click complete. So if a pass is being submitted or has been submitted by a parent, that will automatically flow through to the classroom as well. And so the way that passes are submitted is done through the parent app. So I've kind of skipped a few beats there, but in terms of taking the role through that extension, teachers can do that. But if a student has, a pass that's been logged by their parent, it will show up in here. And we can see the information that's come through, start time, end time, who it was requested by, and then we can click approve, decline, or resubmit. Now, if the information, or let's say the pass is for medical leave or multi-day medical leave that requires like a doctor's certificate, a requirement on that pass can be like a doctor's certificate or things like that. It can also include different approvers. So if it requires, say, the dean of students or maybe their division head to approve that particular pass, that will ping them, they can give the approval, and then whoever's doing the final on the end on your side just has to review those statuses come through, or those approvals come through, and click done. So the way that, just quickly on that same piece here, is the way that parents submit a pass can be done through, we have a native mobile app that they can use, or you can create a personalized link, which can sit on your school website or within the Blackbaud portal for parents. Depends on how you want to do it. And then they just have to come in, select the type of pass, fill in the details, and then that'll flow through to the school, which in turn will then flow through to the classroom teacher, which doesn't look like I have any examples at the moment, which is unusual. So just going back to this, we've got dismissal or late arrivals and early dismissals. So I'm just going to bring up what that looks like. Let's go quick check in. So if a student is coming in late, you can kind of imagine instead this is classroom. So there is some schools that use it to check into the actual classroom for attendance. But in most cases, it's going to be used in, say, like the reception or something along those lines. So instead of classroom A, it would say reception. The student comes in and they just click in check in. And then that's going to let the school know and everyone else know through Orah that that student's arrived. And then the classroom teacher, and they probably would have already marked that student as tardy unexcused or late unexcused. But then this will update those records to show what actually happened. So if there was a pass that you've had a conversation with their parent or something like that, it's going to show up as an excused late or an excused pass on your records on your end. For early dismissals, it would look like this. If the pass has already been approved, so the parent has let the school know that, hey, my child's going off campus to go to a dentist appointment or something like that. When the child goes to do that, either they can do it themselves, again, this is up to you, or you can do this for them as someone in the reception. They click early dismissal, it's going to give just confirm the details, and then they can activate that pass and go home. All the classrooms from that point forward will show that Jane has a pass. She's gone off campus to go to the doctors or what have you. Now, outside the classroom, we do have a mobile app, which I actually can't show you at the moment, but because I don't have the screen mirroring, essentially it would look something similar to this, but this is for emergencies. The teachers can take the role, or a coach can take their phones with them and check students out to a sports tournament or a location off grounds. And they can also take roles through their phones through a native smartphone app as well. Which from what I understand, most SISs we work with don't have that kind of functionality. Leave and absences we touched on. If you're a boarding school, this is also used for like weekend leave. Maybe they're going out to see a family member for the weekend. You can run all that through Orah as well. If they're going to be out and missing classes again, that's going to reflect for the teacher so they know that that student's not expected. Next one here is we have emergency. So by allowing your schools, giving your schools that ability to know where your students are at all times, it gives you a lot more security and kind of peace of mind around if there is an emergency situation and we were to trigger an emergency procedure, which can be done through Orah, then you're going to leverage the last known location that the student was seen. And so we would help you set up all your templates for different emergency scenarios. An example could be like this one here. And we would also help you set up templated communications that go out to the different stakeholders, so students, parents, and staff. In this particular example, it's only going out to staff, but in other templates, you might include, what gets said to students and parents as well. Once you click that, everyone's going to get a critical alert on their phone, so it's going to override even if your phone has notifications turned off. And then you would go through and mark students as being safe, again, likely through your mobile app. And once you do that, that automatically updates everyone else's devices so that they know which students have been accounted for versus haven't. One thing that is commonly asked is just show me the students that haven't been accounted for. And so as you go through and mark them off, I've filtered it down to just show me those students. And so it'll remove them from the list once they've been marked as safe. You can also filter this down to just your classroom, for example. So you won't see the whole 300 students or 400 students. But then if a student is, say, in the hallway and they run into your classroom, you can quickly search for their name and then mark them off as well. Actually, one thing I did miss is if students are checking into different locations on campus, you can use the kiosk that I showed you, which is via an iPad. We do have NFC tiles, which are used more so at boarding schools and outside of the classroom because most schools don't allow for mobile phones during the class day. So this is another option, but doesn't have to be used. It's just another method to capture the student location. So this works like Apple Pay, where they can come up and tap that tile and it'll update their location. We have the iPad as a different method, or we do have the ability to use, it's in beta right now on pilot, but they can use their student ID cards with a QR code on it or a barcode on it, and they can tap in on an iPad to change their location as well. So there's multiple ways is my point there. And so the last piece here is in terms of attendance reporting and alerts, we can get this set up in a couple hours today if any of you are interested. But basically, this plugs straight into Blackbaud. It can pull out all the attendance information you have in there currently, and it's going to show you all the key stats. So attendance rates, students with the most concerns, which are concerns flagged based on your policies. So I'll show you that shortly. We have role completion rates and staff that are or are not completing the roles. And we can also set up alerts to make sure they are taking the role. Classrooms that are struggling with attendance in particular. So you might have a conversation with that teacher. One trend that I know is coming up more frequently for our schools is if it's an elective period that doesn't count towards the college credits, students are often showing lower attendance in those classes because it doesn't really count towards their college admission. Most unexcused absences, most late students, most excused, and so on and so forth. And then down here, we've got attendance rates for every student, and we can also create kind of a report for anything that I want to see here. So let's say any student that has less than, I don't know, 80% attendance. And that's going to show me all those students right there. This is filtered for the last 30 days. We can look at this over a longer time frame, or you can shrink that down to say just today. So that brings me to the next piece, which is alerts. So if we said for just today, and we want to see students that have missed, have unexcused absences for the first two periods, or they've been unexcused the whole day, we can see those. Or we can set up alerts where based on, let's say a common one is any student class attendance is absent. So that's we won't include excused absences in this, but we'll say absent for any course, and we could say 2 times in a row. And we could say within 1 day. Then we can have that alert send out immediately to someone on grounds, so a staff member, the parents themselves to say, hey, it's been, your student has missed the last 2 classes without an excuse. Could you let us know? And you can send it to the students as well. And the other thing you can do here is change the frequent or the time in which that's alerted to those stakeholders. So some schools want to give themselves, say, an hour to just make sure those records are correct, or even it just goes out at the same time each day at 5 p.m. or what have you. And that can go via email, text message, or push notification as well. Oh, here we go. I have a question from Kristen here. Is the teacher taking attendance in Blackbaud? Is there a two-way communication between you and Blackbaud? What happens when a student checks out, but then checks back in later in the day? Yep. If you're going to use Orah for attendance taking, and the goal is to know where the students are at all times, they've got to take the role through Orah, but that's through a Chrome plugin. So it actually feels like it's all the same interface for a teacher. They can have Blackbaud as their LMS open on the left-hand side, take the role through Orah, but it all feels like the same interface. When a student checks out, but then checks back in later in the day, that's just going to show the time that they were out of school for. And it's going to apply a pass or an excuse over those classes that they missed. And then that writes back to Blackbaud every 15 minutes. So the way schools are using Orah is that it's used to capture and process and understand student location throughout the school day. But it sends back to Blackbaud every 15 minutes. And Blackbaud is still the source of truth for academic records and things like that. Hope that answers your question, Kristen. But yes, we have a two-way integration with Blackbaud. I should have mentioned that at the start. Core information around student details and everything is pulled over every hour we do a sync on that. But then information captured in Orah for class attendance and things is going back to Blackbaud every 15 minutes. So yeah, that was the insights piece there. Any questions on the alerts and reporting side of things? Because I know that's an area that we excel in as well. For those of you that might have lower school students as well that only go by day, we can flip it to day so you can see, and they might just take the roll once in the morning, and then you're going to see attendance based on day attendance, not class for those students. Yeah, we work with about 90, I think it's more than that now, closer to 100 schools that use Blackbaud and Orah together. And we've got a bunch of customer stories which I can share with you all. Pricing wise, depending on what level of Orah you want to start with, most schools kind of start here in the middle. Given that school's just started, I'm sure you're going through a bit of a crazy period. You might be looking at class attendance, but it might start in the next semester. You might start with just insights and alerts, which can plug into your existing Blackbaud instance. That really doesn't affect anyone's day to day, apart from maybe your attendance administrators who now have kind of more insights around attendance and then all the automated follow-ups. And then we also have emergence. So if you want to go the full Orah platform, which we've just done with a bunch of schools, then you're looking at the baseline fee is 5,000, and then every student over 250 is $20 per student. Our roadmap, like I mentioned, we've got attendance automation that is currently being rolled out. So if you all wanted, say, your students to come in and check into class on their own using, say, their ID card with a QR code, they can wave that in front of an iPad and that'll check them into class for that particular scheduled class. Again, then that will write back to Blackbaud. We've got dismissals, so that's managing like pickups and things for lower school students. They might be walking home, going by bus, getting picked up by a parent or a confirmed guardian. We've got that coming out at the end of this quarter. And we also have extracurricular activity management too. So if you're wanting to take the roles on non-scheduled classes or activities outside of the classroom, you can do that as well, which will then write back into Blackbaud. And then next quarter, we've got visitor management integration where we're partnering with a company. We think at the moment it will be single wire. So visitor aware is the product. And then when a visitor is checked in by the iPad, it does all the criminal checks and everything. That's going to integrate that visitor into Orah so that during an emergency who else you have to account for and make sure that they're safe as well. And then we have some stuff for boarding schools scheduled later in the year too. That's it from my side. If you need to contact me or want to contact me, it's paul@orah.com. I'll likely connect you with the person closest to your area, like James if you're in the East Coast. And we have a couple other team members for other parts of the US. This deck, I think, just confirming, Tiago, will be going out to everybody at some point. So there are some links here as well, which we'll include for you to go look at the different use cases we've seen with Orah and Blackbaud. I think if I was to cover a few frequently asked questions, one that comes up is, do teachers have the ability to take attendance in either of them, so Blackbaud and Orah? The recommendation is that if you're going to use just insights and alerts to get started, they keep taking the role in Blackbaud. If you want to achieve a real-time understanding of where students are and you use Orah for attendance, we recommend that your teachers do not take the role in both places. It just causes some data inconsistencies. So it's best that they all jump into Orah. But once we've done a training session with the teachers, we're finding that they really enjoy it. So I think that shouldn't be a problem. That's a big one that comes up. SSO as well comes up. We've got that sorted. If you're using Blackbaud, we can't do it with parents. There's some technical limitation. I can't remember what it is. But for your teachers and things on campus, we've got SSO set up for them. And I'm trying to think of anything else. Implementation, I guess, is one that comes up. How long does this sort of thing take? In total, it's about 5 hours of interactions or meetings that we do. There's some work that goes on and behind the scenes from our side and on your side, but not too much. And most of that is to do with, we spend about an hour doing configuration, and then we go through doing admin trainings and then faculty training at the end. and then it's pretty much good to go. If you're doing just insights and alerts, that's literally, it can be done within 3 days. Cool. Thank you, everybody. We'll be in touch, and hope you have a great day.
This demo was a high-level overview of the Orah platform. The recommended next step from here is to book in a call with one of our school solutions experts, who will ask you a bunch of questions to understand how your school operates, and then based on the knowledge of hundreds of conversations with other independent schools, recommend some solutions to those challenges that you're facing right now. The ultimate goal of this session is to leave you with a better idea of whether Orah is right for you or not. There's no obligation to continue if it's not, but we can guarantee that it'll be an impactful 30 minutes. To schedule in your session, head to orah.com/workshop, fill in the form, and you'll be routed through to your local expert. Have a great day.